Hello and welcome to ASUS Golf and this week's review, which I'm actually really excited about because it's a Wilson Staff driver I've been trying to get my hands on for a while. So last year I reviewed the Wilson Staff Cortex from 2018. Now, if you don't know anything about the Cortex, do check out that review out on the channel now. But basically it was from a TV series where they did driver versus driver, where people would come, design a driver, put up against each other, and basically a panel, which actually had Rick Shields on it for that season, would then pick the winner, which would be released to the general public. But before they did that in 2018, they actually did a series earlier in 2017 where this driver was produced from. So exactly the same thing, driver versus driver, general public designed a driver and they picked the winner and released it. And I really wanted to review this club because number one, I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's quite difficult to pick up. And number two, I've heard some really good things about it, apart from one major downfall, which we will discuss later on in this video. And if you haven't guessed the club, well, you already do know the club actually, because you clicked on this video and I tell you in the description exactly what the club is. So without further ado, it is this. It is the Wilson Staff Triton driver from 2017. And on the back of the head cover, there you go, driver versus driver. So it was the first season they did. As I mentioned, they did the second season and then they stopped it. So yeah, so I managed to get my hands on one to review for the channel. So as always, what we're going to do is we're going to have a closer look at this club, come back here, go through all the technology that's in it. And believe me, there is a lot. And then we're going to get down to range. We're going to throw some figures at you, come back here, go through the ASUS golf scale, give my positives about this driver. Believe me, there are lots, but also the huge potential negative about it. And I'll let you guys decide if it's negative or not at the end of the video. All right, guys, so without further ado, let's have a look at, let's be honest, this wacky looking golf club. All right. So there you go. And I do think it's a good looking thing. It's just interesting. It doesn't look like other drivers. I like that alignment aid. I like the bottom of it. I really like how that blacked out face with that, you know, Wilson Staff on it. I think it looks very cool. I do. That's a cool looking driver. It just looks completely different from anything else out on the market, you know, and I like that. I like it. Well, mine's a bit of a Ben Ross driver actually. Never heard of Ben Ross. It's like a UK sort of, you know, UK company, UK production company, UK company over here that produce golf clubs. Yeah, let's definitely produce something that looks similar to that. But yeah, anyway, good looking club. And what you'll notice as well is I've actually taken the screws out of it for a very important reason about the technology that's in this club, because when you brought this brand new, you had two sole plates. You had a titanium one, which is 22 grams, so more weight at the bottom to help with a higher ball flight and less spin. And then you had this one, so a carbon fiber one, which was only 9 grams, which had a lower, more penetrating ball flight because you had less weight on the bottom. And the cool thing about this is when you took all the weights out, you just go like that and boom, you could pop off the basic carbon fiber, in this case sole plate, so you could see inside the driver. I think that's very cool feature. And then if you wanted to, you put on the titanium one, very easily, just says that as I break it, just pops back in and then put the screws in and then off you go. So yeah, you did have two sole plates with it, the titanium one and the carbon one, and then depending on what you'd want, you'd have that sole plate in. Interestingly, when seeing this on the second-hand market, I've seen a lot with the titanium sole plates. I haven't seen that many with the carbon, to be honest. So maybe a super rare one, this one. But anyway, going on to the three movable weights, as with all the clubs nowadays, you know, PXG, huge, they do this all the time. You know, your TaylorMade R7s, mini drivers, etc. You know, a lot of these like sort of brands now have these movable weights around. And it's the same with this. So 3 movable weights, 2 at the front there, and then 1 at the back. You had 2 6 grams, There you go. And then you had 1 2 gram. So there you go. That's the black was the 2, and then the red was the 6. With the idea both at the front of the heavyweight, obviously low spin, low launching. Put one at the back, then obviously that helps with higher launch, higher spin, more MOI. And then obviously if you put it one heavyweight back there and then one say here, that's going to help with a fade, and then put one there, that's going to help with a draw. So you had a lot of adjustability with this. Interestingly, when this was being tested and making sure that it followed all the rules and regulations that were out at the time, which are still exactly the same regulations nowadays, they actually had 12 gram weights in this. So the heavy ones wasn't 6, they were 12. And it actually made the club illegal. Made the ball speed off the face too high. So the smash factor was too high. You were getting too much basically ball speed for your swing, and it was illegal. So that's why they changed it from 12 to 6. Really interestingly, I want to find 12 grams to put in this to test it and see how much a difference actually makes from having 12 grams in there rather than the 6. But obviously this being an older club from 2017, haven't managed to find any yet. So if anyone in the comments below know of any weights that are similar to this that will fit this club, where I can get 12 gram weights, do let me know, because I think it'd be a really interesting video to see, you know, how illegal this would be. You know, how much is it going to improve in the performance by having 12 gram weights in? So do let me know in the comments down below. I'll keep on looking, but at the moment I have hit a dead end with it. Moving on, you've now got real dial the club in. That's a real dial. Sorry, just reading the spiel off the website. So you can really dial your club in as well, because you had that adjustable hosel design with 6 independent loft options. So here you go. So basically you could increase the loft by 1 degree, decrease it by 1 degree, but also put it into a draw setting. So increase by 1 degree and have a draw setting, have a normal, you know, loft and a draw, and then decrease it by 1 and also have a draw setting. So there you go, either loft up and down or loft it up and have a draw and down. So yeah, good adjustability there from Wilson. Obviously not like the DS Adapt nowadays, or your Titleists or your Callaways, where you have quite a, well, Callaway's probably the same actually than that, but not definitely not your DS Adapt or your Titleists, where you do have a lot of adjustability. Moving on, the crown of the Titron features a visible swing active technology, I believe it is that will allow you to consistently set up the ball and act as a swing playing guide for the ball striking to make it better. So that's the whole point there of this. You know, the idea, also a little bit of aerodynamics, but it's to really help you set that ball up in the right position, you know, and follow that swing. You know, keep that aid there to make sure that your face is coming in, well, basically straight, not open or not closed, to get that ball going forward. So yeah, not too sure how much that's really going to take when you're doing a full swing, but it's definitely a cool little feature to see it while looking down on the ball. And obviously, like I said, maybe a little bit of aerodynamics in there as well. Moving on, the Wilson Staff Triton has a high MOI and low drag that will deliver both power and consistency, which is exactly what we'll strive for off the tee. We cannot guarantee the extra sole plate unless it's stated. Yeah, anyway, that bit I do not need to read. That relates to something else completely, and that's just the sell of the club. So there you go. There's all the technology that I was mentioning there. Carbon wise, this is all titanium apart from the carbon sole plate, so nothing hugely different there. And yeah, the head I specifically got is in 12 degrees. So there's all the technology. Now let's get down to range while I put this back together, and then we'll come back in here for the ASUS Golf Scale. All right, see you in a bit. I'm down at the range with the Wilson Staff Triton, and one thing I will say about this club, it is the loudest thing you'll ever hear in your life. I mean, it really did hurt the ears, but it's still, there you go, just in case you missed it on the first one there. But however, let's see what the performance is. So on average, I had a carry of 246 yards, total distance of 271 yards, ball speed 160 miles per hour, launch angle 13 and height 80 feet. Not gonna lie, I was swinging well on the day and I had some really good numbers with this club. Longest was 252 yards carry, total distance 284 yards, and a ball speed of 166 miles per hour. Really happy with that. While the shortest, which wasn't was not a great hit at all. 225 yards and a total distance of 254 yards. Ball speed though still 161 miles per hour, so we're keeping the ball speed just a little bit spinny to the left. Overall, it felt actually quite nice off the face, but that noise is ridiculous. Launched up into the air nicely, was quite consistent, had a dispersion of 67, and that's after still, you know, keeping in the first couple of shots, which took me used to get to the weight, etc. about it. So really happy with the flight of the ball, happy with the numbers. If it wasn't for the noise, I generally would even consider putting this club in the bag, because, you know, tested my QI 35 on a day and it wasn't that much further. If anything, it was pretty much the same. So here's the numbers in a table there for you, and as you can see, it did perform really, really well. Not exactly too sure about the forgiveness. I think the forgiveness is pretty good, but, you know, longest wise out the middle, very, very impressive. As well, as you can see, this was a very strong club, and I think even the reviews back in the day regarding it was that it was a very strong club. I mean, you know, you can't complain about 284 yards total distance and 166 ball speed. So there you go. And what can I say? This does exactly what I'd expect from any core modern driver would do. Maybe even a little bit more, to be fair. I mean, you know, carry 246 yards, fantastic. Total distance 271 yards. Ball speed 160 miles per hour. Launch angle 13, height 80 feet. You know, with the longest 252, you know, yards carry. 284 yards total distance, ball speed 166 miles per hour. That was very impressive. Don't get me wrong, testing QI 35 on, well, obviously when I test clubs, I then do work on stuff I should be working on. So I was hit quite a few with my current drive, the QI 35, and I was getting numbers similar to that. Not maybe a little bit longer on some of them, but this is still very, very impressive. Very, very impressive. So let's go into the ASUS golf scale. So we've got 5 categories: distance, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Distance for me, this is a 4 out of 5. I'm even half tempted to actually give it a 4.5 out of 5. But as I've mentioned, I've tested a lot of core drivers, a lot of newer core drivers this year. And with my sort of higher swing speed at the moment, because I've definitely got up my swing speed from like a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's in that 4 bracket for me. You know, it's with your QI 35, you know, your brand new QI 35. It's with your sort of more sort of average driver, well, not average driver, but driver that's built across the spectrum. So it's not just for that player, it's for numerous sort of players. It's not a low spin monster. That's what I'm going to say here. It's not a low spin monster, but 4 out of 5 is a very, very, very good driver distance. So yeah, really happy with that 4 out of 5. And as I mentioned, I sort of feel like I should be getting a 4.5 out of 5, but I'm just not. I'm going to stick with a 4 out of 5. But yeah, really, really happy with those numbers. Moving on to feel, 2 out of 5. It just doesn't feel great. And obviously, you know, talking about the elephant in the room, it is the loudest thing in the world. So of course, when it comes down to feel, a lot of the time, you know, the noise does come into consideration, just because, you know, it does affect that moment. You know, the moment you hit that ball, you're going to feel it, you're going to hear the noise. Now for me, every time I hit the ball, hearing just that whack and the loudest noise in the world, you know, just straight away I was like, what is that? You know, maybe I could get used to it. I'm never taking down to range ever again in my life. I will take this down to range again. That's actually a complete lie, because it is a lot of fun, but it just, the noise of it, you know, probably put me off the feel of it. So I'm giving it 2 out of 5, even though it felt quite lively off the face, and I generally knew where sort of my big mishits were. Because of that noise, I definitely brought it down 2 out of 5. Maybe if the noise was a little bit quieter, maybe it would be a little bit higher. So yeah, there you go. But yes, the loudest thing on the planet. Moving on to looks. Looks for me, I've looked at this as someone who would look at this from outside. Not someone like me who would look at this and be like, oh my God, I think this thing's so quirky. I love it. You know, no, I'm changing it. I'm changing it. I'm looking at it from the whole point of this channel was to give you my point of view on these clubs. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I love the quirky looks of this club. I love that. You know, I actually really like the shape of it as well. It's a good bulbous sort of shape. You know, I like that thing on the top there is just really, really quirky. So I'm giving it 5 out of 5. I know a lot of you guys are going to be watching this and go, oh my God, no, I could never look at something that has that on the top. But for me, I just really enjoy the quirkiness of the driver. I enjoy you can take the carbon fiber panel off and look inside the club head as well. You know, this is so much I enjoy about it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. It probably shouldn't have a 5 out of 5, but I'm giving it 5 out of 5 because I just, you know, I love the look of the face as well. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Moving on to forgiveness. Now, it did take me quite a while to warm up. Well, when I finally warmed up with this club, got used to the weight, etc., I was very, very consistent with it. You know, even though I had that, you know, 284, which was a long one, I had another one, you know, 281 total distance, another one 274, 269. You know, it was a few blips at the sort of beginning where I got 257 and got the shortest 254 that I was just sort of getting used to it. So once I was in full flow of it, I found it very consistent. However, when you're on a golf course, you're not going to be suddenly hitting 10, 20, 30, 40 balls with the club in a row. You're going to be suddenly walking up the street and then hitting it and going hitting a different type of club and then going hit a different type of club. So I've given it a 3 out of 5 for that sort of thing. It took me a while just to get into it. And if you do hit a bad hit on it, you do get relatively punished. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had all the weight at the front. Maybe if you put the heavy weight at the back, that would help with a little bit more forgiveness as well. A lot of the reviews I read out there as well, it said that forgiveness is okay, but not brilliant. So I could even go lower than a 3. But personally for me, I'm sticking with the 3 because I found that when I was in a groove of it, even though I wasn't in the middle of the face every time, I was getting more and more consistent with this club, you know, and the ball flights were getting very much the same as well. So, you know, for that reason, I'm very happy with it. So I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. Don't get me wrong, if you strike the ball there, you will be punished. But I definitely think for the consistency of ball flight and everything like that, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. I know some people probably watch this who have had this club and might disagree with that. You might, you know, surprise me and say you think it's even better and more forgiving. But, you know, a lot of the reviews were saying not quite that good for forgiveness, but I found it, you know, pretty decent. So that's why I'm giving it 3 out of 5. But just be aware of that. You know, this isn't your Wilson Staff D7, D9, you know, or, you know, those type of clubs which are really, really, you know, built for sort of forgiveness, or your, you know, new Wilson Dynapower Max, for example. This isn't that type of club. But yeah, I think the forgiveness is good. But yeah, 3 out of 5. Just be a little bit wary if you are a striker all over the face and you see one of these. Now, moving on to price. So price has been a bit of a weird one, really. And again, it comes down to the noise it makes, because on the second-hand market, say Golf Bidder, you can get one of these at the moment, the time I film this, with the titanium plate for £98.99. That's around $130. eBay, I've seen them go for around £107, so about $140. And I've seen lots of heads, you know, in the US where they've gone for, I think it was around one went for $70, one went for $90, so it's around £52, £70. So there's quite a few out there for under £100. Now, if you're looking at the distance of this thing for under £100, 2016 golf club, I don't think you're gonna beat it. I think, you know, if you're looking at Golf Bidder for the same price, they sort of show the Great Big Bertha from 2015. Have more forgiveness, definitely, but distance, no. You know, you probably maybe pick up one of the M's again for a little bit cheaper or the same price, but you'll be struggling to find one. For what it offers for distance, I think this is a really, really good price if you see one of these online, because people don't think of it. They don't know about it. But obviously, forgiveness wise, I've given it a 3. Forgiveness is forgiving enough, I think. But the major issue with it, why I've given it a 4 out of 5, is the noise. A lot of you guys will pick this up and you won't want to use it again because that noise is so bad. I mean, I even hit this when I was testing it down the range. Someone behind me was walking past going, well, that's a loud thing, isn't it? You know, it is loud. It is so loud. It is definitely the loudest driver I've ever reviewed for this channel. And I've hit some loud ones, believe me. I know, like, some people back in the reviews were like, it's not that bad, but it is very, very loud. So yeah, be aware of that. And that's why I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 and not a 5 out of 5, because I think if it was making sort of similar noises to a lot of other clubs out there, I think this would be an absolute bargain. 5 out of 5. If you see one, pick it up. You won't be disappointed. And it is fun to hit, which I've mentioned. But because of the noise, it's going a 4 out of 5. Still an absolute bargain. If you don't care about the noise, pick it up, because the distance is very, very competitive, even compared to brand new drivers today. So there you go, guys. There's my review of the Wilson Staff Triton driver. So driver versus driver from the series in 2017. Overall thoughts, I actually really love this thing. There's quite a few things what I review and I sort of end up keeping. I don't have the space to keep them. You know, a lot of the time with this channel, I buy, review, and then sell. But there's a few that I've gone, all right, I actually really like this, I'm going to review it, you know, because I might put in the bag on a day that I just want to have a bit of fun with it, or I might want to compare it again, or just because I think it's a really cool thing. And this is definitely one of them. I'm definitely keeping this for future reviews and everything like that. I just can't let it go. I just think it's so quirky, so interesting, you know, and it does perform really, really well. I will definitely try and pick up a sole plate if I can, keep my eye out on the second-hand market, and also see if I can get heavier weight, because could be my illegal driver. Be amazing. But yeah, overall, the Wilson Staff Triton, think it's a great driver, definitely worth a go if you see it on the second-hand market. However, comes with a massive warning sign: it is the loudest thing on this planet. All right, guys, now I hope you enjoyed this review of this club. If you did, do remember to give this video a like. Also remember to comment down below, you know, have you played one of these before? If you have, you know, how did you get over the sound? Were you not bothered by it, or did it actually stop you from using it because it was so loud? And also remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on weekly ASUS golf reviews like this and so much more. All right, guys, I'll see you soon for the next ASUS golf video. See you then. Bye-bye.